Hello, and welcome to the dungeon. I'm your host, Rob. In today's video, we're going to be looking at one of my favorite subclasses for Cleric, which is the Twilight Domain Cleric from Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. I really like the Twilight Domain. I think it's a really nice selection of abilities. It's not the most synergistic. The abilities don't really play off one another necessarily, but I feel like most abilities are just strong abilities on their own. I also like some of the themes and moods, like that idea of like kind of straddling light and dark, or being like getting your powers from the moon and stuff. I think that there's some really interesting roleplay potential for a class like this, and that's something I'm always interested in if I'm going to be playing a character. It's not always about mechanics. I want the character to be fun. That said, though, I feel like the mechanics in this class are pretty good. I think a lot of the subclass abilities are pretty strong, and I think the spell list overall is fairly good as well. So we'll start with the spell list. Level 1, you're going to get Fairy Fire and Sleep. Fairy Fire is a great first level spell in my opinion. It's one I'm probably going to keep prepared for quite a while. The ability to give my allies advantage on their attacks, especially in certain party compositions, can be really nice. Like if I have a rogue, now he's going to be able to sneak attack no matter what, as long as he's got advantage, he's going to be fine, right? Something like, say, a champion fighter, where they're trying to get more crits. They're critting on a 19 or 20, or eventually 18, 19, or 20. Giving them advantage just allows them to do what they already want to do even better. As opposed to, say, like a barbarian who's giving themselves advantage, they're not really going to benefit as much. So overall, though, I think Fairy Fire is good. The fact you can also reveal invisible creatures sometimes is, kind of nice. Not really why I'm taking it, but not a bad effect at all. As for Sleep, as we all know, Sleep is an absolute god tier spell at level 1 and 2. Man, it starts to fall off really rapidly after that. But it is one of the best first level spells in the game, and those are some of the most dangerous levels. Those first couple levels is when most character deaths happen, and you don't have things like Revivify yet. So having access to Sleep, in my opinion, is not a bad thing. I'll have it prepared. Once I get to like level 3, maybe level 4, probably not. Beyond that, not even going to worry about it. And that's fine. I just switched out for something else. Level 3, I'm going to get Moonbeam and See Invisibility. Moonbeam's not a bad second level spell, right? Nothing wrong with that. See Invisibility, again, fairly circumstantial. And I do have Fairy Fire, so I feel like it's maybe not as good as I'd like it to be. But again, it is pretty good at doing what it's supposed to do, which is just allowing you to see invisible creatures. That is rather circumstantial, but it's not like invisibility is some rare thing that almost never happens in this game. It is fairly common, at least. So, not bad. Level 5, we get Aura of Vitality and Lehman's Tiny Hut. I love both of these spells. I think Aura of Vitality is one of the better healing spells in the game. And yes, granted, we are talking 5th edition where healing's less necessary than any other edition ever. But it is a lot of healing. It's not bad in combat, just every round is throwing out 2 dice 6 to whoever you want. But I think it's even better out of combat where you don't have to worry about getting hit, losing concentration. And especially if your party's on the clock, you're looking at a 1 minute of just healing people, 2 dice 6 per round, 10 rounds of that. That's a lot of healing. So I do think it's pretty good. Lehman's Tiny Hut. Obviously, if we have like a wizard or somebody who can cast it as a ritual, I'm going to rather let him do it so he's not having to use the spell slots, unlike me. But I don't think it's a bad spell by any means. It's one of the best ways early on to take short and long rests safely. And it's just a really, really good, useful spell to have. So I'm never going to be sad to see it on the spell list. Like I said, I'm going to be even happier if I have a wizard to cast it for me instead. But I'm not upset to see it here at all. Level 7, we get Aura of Life and Greater Invisibility. Aura of Life, in my opinion, is just worse than Aura of Vitality. So it's really unfortunate it's a higher level spell slot. It's not that it's a bad spell for what it does. It's just, again, it's a very circumstantial spell. If I know we're going to be fighting like a Lich or somebody, Aura of Life is going to be an absolute game changer for that fight. But if I don't know I'm fighting a Lich, do I really want to have this prepared just on the off chance we fight some very specific types of undead that are going to be doing a lot of necrotic damage? Probably not. On the other hand, Greater Invisibility is one of the best 4th level spells in the game. It's just an excellent spell. It's great on allies that are going to be attacking in melee, and now they have advantage on other attacks and disadvantage to get hit, like on the rogue that we maybe mentioned earlier. It's great for scouting. It's also great, as the bard in my last campaign proved, on spellcasters with counterspell. Particularly, you turn yourself invisible, enemy spellcasters try to cast spells, you just counterspell them at will, and they can't do anything about it because they can't even see you. So unless they have true sight or see invisibility or something of their own, you can shut them down and they can't touch your spells because they cannot see you spellcasting. That was something he abused quite heavily in the last campaign, and full marks to him for doing so. Great tactics. Level 9 spell. You get Circle of Power and Mislead. Again, these are both fairly circumstantial. Circle of Power is, it's a good anti-caster, like shutdown type of spell, which isn't a bad thing. Clerics don't usually have a lot of that. Mislead, again, rather circumstantial. I'd probably be happier if it was a 4th or better yet, even a 3rd level spell. So, not that they're bad spells by any means, but I think like really our like 1st or 4th level spells are really where the spell list starts to shine. So that's it for the spell list. As for the level 1 abilities, we're going to get bonus proficiency of being able to wear heavy armor and use any weapon. I like this a lot. It means that the Twilight Domain Cleric becomes very attractive if you just want to do a small cleric dip, 1 or 2 levels. I think this is a great choice. Is it better than War Cleric? I think you could maybe make that argument depending on what you're looking for. So, maybe yes, maybe no. But it's a viable alternative if you just wanted to get a couple levels of Cleric and then get like heavy armor and, some spell slots perhaps, and maybe a Channel Divinity, right? The other ability, Eyes of Night. Basically, you have dark vision at a range of 300 feet, which is insanely far. And better yet, as an action, you can magically share the dark vision with willing creatures you can see within 10 feet of you, up to a number of creatures equal to your wisdom modifier. The shared dark vision lasts for an hour. Once you share it, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest, or unless you expend a spell slot of any level to refresh it. This is a decent ability. 300 feet of dark vision is insanely far. I don't think there's a single monster that naturally has even close to that. So even on party members who have dark vision, it's still way better than their natural dark vision. Do you always need 300 feet of dark vision? Probably not. But in certain campaigns, especially if you're going to be in like the Underdark or something like that, I think this ability really starts to shine. And either way, I think it's pretty good. Having dark vision is better than not having it, and having 300 feet of it is in the same distance. Vigilant Blessing. I love this ability. The knight has taught you to be vigilant. As an action, you give one creature you touch, including possibly yourself, advantage on the next initiative roll the creature makes. This benefit ends immediately after the roll, or if you use this feature again. Notice there's no restriction on how many times you can use it, though. Only that you can only have it active on one creature at a time. But you could finish that fight with advantage, touch whoever it was, or yourself, or whatever. Not in a bad way, though. And, have that ability again in the next fight, and then next, and then next, and then next. I really like this ability, especially if I have, maybe a battlefield control or a lockdown type of, wizard or sorcerer. Somebody's going to be casting, webs and hypnotic patterns and stuff, so they can hit the enemy, having advantage on their initiative. Hopefully they go quite quickly, and you can hit the enemy before they move, before they charge your party, and now you're webbing half your own characters and stuff. That always just sucks, I'd rather do it before they all charge us. And having advantage on those kind of characters really shines. But honestly, having it on anybody is not a bad thing by any means. So I personally think that ability is excellent. You just basically permanently give a party member advantage on initiative rolls. Level 2, Channel Divinity, Twilight Sanctuary. I think this ability is also awesome. So you can use your Channel Divinity to refresh your allies with Soothing Twilight. As an action, present your holy symbol, and a sphere of twilight emanates from you. The sphere is centered on you, has a 30-foot radius, and is filled with dim light. It moves with you and lasts for 1 minute or until you are incapacitated or die. Note that there's no concentration requirement. Whenever a creature, including you, ends its turn in the sphere, you can grant that creature one of these benefits. It gains temporary hit points equal to 1 dice 6 plus your cleric level, or you end one effect on it, causing it to be charmed or frightened. Now, the charmed or frightened is rather circumstantial again, but those are pretty nasty conditions, and the fact that you can just use this like reflexively, like, oh, somebody got frightened, I'm going to use this to cancel that ability on them. That's not bad by any means. But I think the temporary hit points is where this ability really shines. I mean, even by like second level, when you get this ability, you're looking at an average of 3.5 hit points plus your cleric level. So 5.5 hit points, potentially to every party member every round. I mean, you probably only have like 18 hit points or so on most characters at this point. That's a huge boost. And the fact that it scales decently well, right? 1 per cleric level plus that die 6 makes it really, really handy. Again, it's one that's really going to shine depending on your party composition. If you have people like barbarians who are just able to rage, and now those temporary hit points are lasting twice as long, even better. But honestly, I think this ability is excellent. Especially as you get to higher and higher level. You know, you can be giving people like 20, 25 hit points around, essentially. And, you know, using 3 channel divinities a day at high level, that's pretty game impacting. Steps of Night, level 6. You draw on magical power of night to rise into the air. As a bonus action, when you are in dim light or darkness, you can magically give yourself a flying speed equal to your walking speed for 1 minute. You can use this bonus action a number of times, equal to your proficiency bonus, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. Getting late, hard to read. Now you do have to be in dim light or darkness, but I will point out that your channel divinity gives you a sphere of dim light. So, you know, you could use those together, even in the brightest day. You can do that. Concentration-free flight is nothing to sneeze at. It's not the fastest flight out there. You're just getting flight equal to your walking speed. But I mean, that's not terrible. It lasts a minute. No concentration. No spell slot. I think it's a pretty solid ability overall. Level 8, we get Divine Strike. So, you know, half the clerics essentially get this. Half of them get this potent spell casting. This is one where every time you land a weapon attack, you can cause that weapon to do an extra 1.8 radiant damage. At least it's a pretty good damage type. And when you hit level 14, it goes to 2.8 instead. Level 17, Twilight Shroud. The Twilight that you summon offers a protective embrace. You and your allies have half cover while in the sphere created by your Twilight Sanctuary. So, in addition to giving everybody, you know, 20-ish temporary hit points per round every single round, they're also getting half cover, which is, you know, +2 to your armor class, making it a pretty good ability. And like I said, at high levels, you're using this up to 3 times a day. Now you're getting temporary hit points and more armor class. It's really solid. Overall, I think the Twilight Domain is a very interesting one. Like I said, I like a lot of the themes and the roleplay potential I see for the class. I think the abilities are very strong. And like I said, really, the only ability that kind of like builds on itself is your level 17 ability, improving your level 2 ability. That's a big gap to see that improvement, you know. But either way, I feel like the level 2 ability is so strong with the temporary hit points every round that, you know, I don't really care. My campaign might never get to 17 anyways. Overall, I think it's a very, very strong cleric class. And like I said, I think it's one that would multi-class very well. I did one video already, or 2 maybe, where we looked at dipping into Twilight Domain Cleric. Just because, like I said, you get heavy armor, you get all the weapons, and you can get some nice spell slots. I think that on someone, like maybe, you know, anybody who wants to benefit from having low-level spell slots, like Warlock is a great choice, right? Instead of going Fighter, you could go Cleric. And now you've got some first-level spell slots that are not going to be automatic scaling. So if you went with, say, like a Hexblade or somebody, you can use Shield, and it's not going to be using a 5th-level spell slot to do it with, you know? That kind of stuff is really, really nice. So I think that there's some pretty good potential there. But even someone like, I don't know, anybody who really wants heavy armor and weapon proficiencies, it's a solid choice to go into. So anyways, those are my thoughts on it. I think that it's a very fun and thematic subclass with some great abilities, some nice support, but also kind of like that front line support where you've got the heavy armor and all that, and then all your allies nearby are getting buffed, and it's just really, really solid, I think. So anyways, that's the video. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.